Hello and welcome to We Are Defenders of the Faith. I am so glad that you are here today, and I hope you are glad to be here today, and I hope this lesson today will be a blessing to your life. Now, the channel is doing really well. We're pushing to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. You have made that happen, and if you have not subscribed yet, now's the time to subscribe. We are pushing to 2,000. We want to get there. Now, 2 videos ago, when I talked about the devil or Satan, I got 100 thumbs up, 100 likes. Those likes are so important to the channel. So if you're on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up right below you. Click that thumbs up. It's really good. It helps the channel out quite a bit, and YouTube will help spread the good news that I'm sharing here with others who have nothing to do with the channel or with me. Now, today, have you ever gone through something so difficult that it makes you weep or mourn? I just don't mean simple sadness, because we all get sad from time to time. In fact, some people sing the blues when they're sad. I don't do that, but some people find it helpful to do so. I've never quite understood singing songs that are sad when you are sad, but people do that. Sometimes people need a good cry. But I'm talking about something that is really affecting your life, and it just kind of feels so overwhelming. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, it talks about there is a time under the sun for everything. And in verse 4, it says there is a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance or to celebrate. You know, someone once said, "You may soon forget those with whom you have laughed, but you will never forget those with whom you have wept." When we experience sorrow, great sorrow, not just sadness, but sorrow, one of the greatest comforts is knowing that someone else has gone through something similar. I don't mean that in a way that is, I'm not the only one suffering, but in a way that is, someone else understands what I'm going through. Someone else understands my sorrow and grief. And in times when we go through such sorrow, we tend to turn and cling to someone else we feel close to who has gone through something similar. Why? Because they'll understand. I can share what I'm feeling, what I'm going through in my life with them. And they usually can help us. Well, I'm here to tell you today that Jesus is one of those. When you experience sorrow and grief that just seem and feel so overwhelmingly bad, you're miserable, it's unbearable, and you just know that you have Jesus to turn to, and he does understand. He can help and will help if you turn to him with your sorrow, with your grief, with your mourning, with the way that you're feeling. Now, the scriptures tell us about such mourning. Not that this is a time to do so, but we experience these things. And here's the thing. Jesus is the one who will totally understand you. He will never misunderstand your sorrow, your grief, your mourning that just seems so overwhelming. He understands. In Isaiah chapter 53, verses 3 through 4, and this is speaking of Jesus, it says, "He is despised and rejected by men." Have you been rejected before? You know how that feels inside when someone rejects you, a group of people reject you? That can be hard to go through. It can be utterly depressing and sorrowful when you're going through something like that. It says he's a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised. He was hated. And we did not esteem him. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Jesus has borne your grief, meaning he's carried it with him. He bears it upon himself and carries your sorrows. Now, that means quite a lot of different things, but one of the greatest stories in the Bible is the story of Lazarus in John chapter 11. In the story of Lazarus, Lazarus has passed away. He is a close friend of Jesus. And he's been in the grave for 3 days. And Jesus finally shows up. Now, Jesus already knows he's going to bring Lazarus back to life. He's going to bring him back from the dead. But when he gets there, his 2 sisters are in mourning, and there's a great amount of people who are all sorrowful. They're crying, they're grieving over the loss of their family member or their friend. And Jesus gets caught up in the moment. And in John 11, verse 35, it's one of the shortest verses in the entire Bible. It says that Jesus wept. Jesus wept. Now, he didn't shed a few tears. He was weeping with these people. And one of the things that tells me is this: it's okay to weep and cry. You know, I live in a country, United States of America, and I lived in a family where, you know what, we were kind of trained and taught that the men are supposed to be strong and not to cry. And the bottom line is, my whole life, I've been kind of an emotional person, but I usually try not to cry. I want to be strong for those who need strength. But it's okay to weep. It's okay to cry. In Luke chapter 19, verse 41, it's another time when Jesus cried. And it says that Jesus wept over Jerusalem as well in Luke 19:41. So whatever you are going through right now, or maybe you will go through it sometime in your life, it could be tomorrow, it could be in a week, it could be a month, it could be in a year or two. My advice, my recommendation is to lean on Jesus. Give that sorrow and grief over to him. Call upon him to ease your pain. I don't mean your physical pain. I mean the pain that you feel on the inside after you've lost a mother like I just lost, or a father who I recently lost, or maybe even worse than that, maybe a child, or whatever it might be. That is painful to go through. Ease your pain, ease your suffering, ease your sadness, grief, and sorrow. Jesus will give you peace. He will give you rest. I say rest because sorrow can be just overwhelmingly exhausting when you feel so sorrowful. And the bottom line is, Jesus understands what you're going through. Now, how do I know that? Well, Jesus was here on earth. He went through quite a few different things. First, one of his own followers betrayed him. One of his own followers in his inner circle denied him 3 times. Jesus' enemies wanted him dead. Now, I know people don't like me, but they don't want me to die. At least I don't think so. And even some who didn't even know him called for his death. Crucify him! He was beaten. He was spat upon. He was mocked and painfully put upon a Roman death cross to die. One of his final things that he would say on the cross is, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Jesus felt all alone on that cross. So if loneliness is your sorrow, certainly Jesus understands that sorrow. Hebrews 4, verses 15 and 16 says, "For we do not have a high priest," that high priest is Jesus, "who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin." And then it says this, "Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need." Now, sometimes that grace and that mercy is about, I'm being tempted by the devil. I'm being tempted by the world. I'm being tempted and I'm weak. But other times it's, You know what? When you're mourning and you're sad and you feel you're grieving and it just feels so overwhelming and you feel all alone. And sometimes the devil will come after you at that moment in your life. Turn to Jesus who understands that sorrow. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7 says, cast all your anxieties, all your care upon him, for he cares for you. Jesus cares for you. He cares about you. He cares about what you're going through. So in those times when you just feel so overwhelmed with mourning and sadness, I hope and pray that you will turn to the one who left heaven, walked upon this earth, experienced so many things, more things than I will ever experience, and yet he will walk by my side and bear those things with me. If I'm sorrowful and I'm mourning and I'm filled with this overwhelming grief, Jesus will be there. I pray that you will do so. Now, you might be saying right now, well, I got no problems in my life. Everything's okay. I got problems here and there, but nothing that's overwhelming. Someday you might just go through something like that. Or you might feel alone, all alone at some point in your life. Give it over to Jesus. Give that sorrow, that trouble over to Jesus. He will give you peace. He will give you rest if you would just turn to him. Now, God bless you. I hope that when you see this and view this, you will get up, get out, make something positive happen in your life today. And if you're one of those people who's gone through some mourning and some weeping and some sorrowfulness, and God has got you through that, Jesus got you through that, share that with someone who's going through something similar. And maybe you'll be able to help them. Don't forget, stay connected. Stay connected to Jesus. Stay connected to God. In prayer, in his word, you will feel so much better, and God will help you. Jesus will help you with everything that you go through in your life. God bless you. Have a great day.
When Jesus wept the falling tear,
when Jesus wept the falling tear, in mercy flowed beyond all bound. When Jesus clothed the trembling tear, when